Good evening, and thank you for watching. Now, for those of you who watched my previous videos, y'all tend to know that I tend to get silly or not serious. Well, I'm going to tell you what right now. This is actually going to be a pretty serious video that I'm making. And it's going to be pretty rough because I don't know how to get serious, and nor do I have any intentions of learning. But because of the topic and what it entails, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Anyway, the last several months, I've been dealing with some stuff that has messed with my head, and not in a good way either. I had to take a hit off of that because it's been keeping me away from that nasty-ass chewing tobacco. Anyway, we'll go back to several months ago. My dog, Doc, he actually passed away, and I was at work when it happened. I got a call from my mom, who told me that he, out of nowhere, had a heart attack. So I told the manager on duty, I'm like, hey, you got to check me out, man. I need to get home. I can't be at work. My dog passed away. So that was pretty rough on me. Well, moving right along, little did I know, yes, it actually caught me pretty bad, put me in my feelings or whatever, but little did I know, my troubles were just beginning. Anyway, we're going to fast forward to the very beginning of, actually just right before April. 2 days before April 1st to be exact. You see, my mom started developing health problems to the point to where she could walk, but she couldn't get to her feet on her own, and she actually missed some work behind that. So she went to one of the hospitals here in Baton Rouge, and they ran some tests on her and admitted her. Now, we thought it was going to be one of those things where they were going to run some tests and say, we're going to give you some antibiotics and you'll be good before you know it. No big deal. Happens all the time. But no, they actually admitted her. And they determined there was nothing they could do for her in Baton Rouge, so they sent her to that hospital's main campus in Metairie, which is like right there in Jefferson Parish, just next to New Orleans. They ran some more tests on her, and well, that Monday, the day it happened, I was at truck driving school. I'll touch a little bit more on that in a minute. But I got a call from the ICU doctor while we were out on the backing pad practicing our offset backing maneuvers. And he said, there's a good chance your mother is not going to live to see tomorrow. So I told that instructor, I'm like, hey man, you got to sign me out because I just got this call, saying what I just said. I need to get to New Orleans stat. When I'm not even halfway there, actually maybe just a little bit more halfway there, I was crossing the Causeway Bridge going past almost to Laplace. He calls me again and tells me she may not live to see the next few hours. Thankfully, I make it there just in time while she was still alive. Unfortunately, hooked up to every life support machine under the sun. But at 6:04 that evening, she passed away right in front of me. And I'll admit, for the first 2 weeks after it happened, it didn't even feel real. Sometimes it still don't. But after that, the reality of it set in to where the whole thing imploded on me. And every so often to this day, I still feel, which it's probably been like 3 months since, the reality still tends to set in like it just imploded on me. Oh hell, in fact, I still have dreams when I'm asleep. Like, I'll have dreams that my mom just came home from work at Walmart, still wearing her work uniform with her denim jacket, and she'll walk in. And well, for the last 2, maybe 3 weeks at this point. I'm not 100% sure. I'll just say 2 weeks to be a fair guess. I actually moved into the master bedroom of the house. And those of you who watched my video about we have moved, well, that room I was living in at the time of my video, I actually moved into the master bedroom. And well, I do have dreams where my mom actually has come home from work and has walked into there and asked me, "What are you doing in my bed?" You know what? I can't tell you how much or who I would kill for that to actually happen. But I'll elaborate on that right now, actually. When we first moved into this house, my Aunt Martha was the one living in the master bedroom. And I didn't always call her Aunt Martha. I just called her Martha because over a 10-year period, we used to do a headbutt. We used to be at each other's throats and get at it just because our level of cleanliness didn't mesh with one another. Well, at some point last year or the year before, she became incapacitated and was forced to retire from her job with the state. It even got to a point to where she moved out of the master bedroom and was actually living on a hospital bed in the living room. We still have that bed, by the way. But she ended up passing away on June 8th of last year, actually. Now, when I was a kid in the 90s, Aunt Martha did have a level of chill to her. But then after she went to work for the state, that level of chill went away and she was extra grouchy. But after she became incapacitated, and I really hate that it took for that to happen for her to get her chill back, but she did end up getting her chill back. But during the course of her being in the living room, that was when my mom moved into the master bedroom, where I am now. And I will say that even though I do hate that it took for whatever happened to happen for her to get her chill back, I do hate that it happened. But at the same time, I am glad her and I were able to bury the hatchet and everything else before it came to that. But getting back to the subject where my mom passed, like I said, for 2 weeks it didn't feel real at all, but after that, it felt very much real, and it would come on and off. This might sound sweet. Granted, I have this whole 4-bedroom house to myself, and I've even moved into the master bedroom. And here's some things I've done with it since. That right there is my original TV I've had since 2011. That right there is my old split-screen TV that I'm using strictly for the surveillance system. And of course, that glare right there is there it goes. That's my computer screen, and I actually have this right here hooked up as a split screen, which is actually my mom's original TV. And I decided to use it for that since it's a Roku TV. Because I'm pretty sure I'll find more use for it other than that. And I'm going to hit the floodlight for this one. But right behind me is both of my parents. That's my dad's urn right there. My mom's urn right there. And that's a picture of both of them. And that's my mom holding my little sis. Funny enough, in the picture, my dad in that picture is the same age then that I am now. But just to throw it out there, he actually passed away back in 1997 when I was 13, just 3 days into my 8th grade year, which almost kind of takes me back to my point of trucking school. Now, because I've missed a lot of days on account of my depression, yesterday was actually supposed to be my day of graduation, the day of leaving with a commercial driver's license. But I actually ended up getting pushed back, so my new projected graduation day is going to be August the 15th. Same day of my dad's passing, imagine that. But if it's one thing I can say that I've done, blaming everyone and everything else for my shortcomings is something I've gotten away from when I was in my 20s. So I'm going to go ahead and take this pushback, and I'm going to go ahead and wear it like a man. Because that's what a real man would do, is just say, I get it, I deserve it, I'm going to wear it. Now, as for what I'm doing to cope with everything, well, probably almost 2 months ago, I was deep in my feelings. And I'm going to post a link to this in the description below. Now, of course, if it's one thing I've seen with YouTube, whenever it comes to viewing self-help videos or stuff like that, YouTube itself is pretty good about posting links to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, so I'm pretty sure after I title this video the way I do, they're probably going to do the same thing, but just on the off chance they don't, I'll go ahead and post it there too. But I actually did contact the Suicide Lifeline, National Prevention Suicide Lifeline. I'm not even going to lie to y'all. I do have some alcohol in my system, and I probably shouldn't be doing that, and I'll get to that in a second. But I contacted them. I vaguely remember my conversation with the volunteer who answered the phone, but the very next day when I was more sober, I got a call from someone who works at the local crisis line here in Baton Rouge. And I asked him, is there anyone I can call or anything I can do to seek mental help for this? He suggested calling 211 and pushing option 1. I did that, and I got a hold of somebody who gave me some links for some help. And as she was giving me those links, I typed them up in the search engine, and I went strictly off of the reviews. And the reviews I went off of, the one that had the highest one was the Capital Area Human Services. You don't even have to book an appointment with them. You can just show up. Now, here's the thing. I didn't have no insurance, didn't have Medicaid, no nothing. They screened me, and I was automatically approved for Medicaid. And this kind of goes... This is something I've talked a lot of shit about in the past. Because I will admit, I do have an annoying habit of talking to myself when I'm either alone or even if I think I'm alone. I've been told I should see a psychiatrist for this, and I've always said, why? He's just going to tell me the same thing I told myself. Well, I'm going to go ahead and eat crow on that one. However, it's not a psychiatrist that you're going to see at this place. You're going to see a nurse practitioner who regulates your meds, and a social worker where all the talking comes in. And as it stands, I'm actually on 3 different psychotropic meds for what I'm dealing with. 2 for my depression, 1 for my anxiety. Now, the last time I was there, they took my blood pressure and it was through the roof. So I'm probably going to get put on blood pressure medicine next. And I do have a appointment scheduled with my primary in regards to that. Now, I did also say that I was able to get this information by contacting the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline. But let me be as clear as glass to y'all when I say this. No, I do not have any plans or desires or any thoughts of canceling my subscription to Oxygen. Even though there are some people out there that probably wouldn't want nothing more than if I did that, but no, that's not going to happen. If I did, I wouldn't be making this video. And you know what? I will admit it. Now, I remember my dad telling me this story a few months before he passed. Because in the last year of his life, he was the general manager at a 7-Eleven in Lubbock. To be exact, it was the one right there at the corner of University and the Marcia Sharp Expressway, just right across from Jones Stadium at Texas Tech campus. He was in the office doing something, and he looked at the monitor, and he noticed that this guy was talking to his night clerk for a while, and he kind of got tired of seeing it, and he came out of the office and asked the night clerk, "What's going on with this dude?" And he said, "Oh, not much. He's ready to cut his wrist and this, that, and the other, and I'm trying to talk him down." And my dad was like, "All right, look, fella, if you want to cut your wrist, fine, but get off the property to do it." And he told my dad, "You have no compassion." And my dad was like, "You're right, I don't." And sometime later, I brought it up to my mom, and the part about no compassion, she even said herself, she was like, "That's right, he didn't. He was as diplomatic as a toad." And to which he was. And for a long time, I can admit I was like that too. I never thought I'd be on the receiving end of this myself. But it just goes to show you, depression, it's real. And as for my dad's passing, I'm going to go ahead and mention this when I say, based on the way he did pass, I mean, in the last couple months of his life, he found out the only thing keeping him alive was his brain. So he took to huffing paint, just spraying spray paint into a pill bottle. And the day he did pass, it was the third day into my 8th grade year. I came home from school, got off the school bus. I went to my room to take a nap. Next thing you know, my mom's waking me up. And she's on the phone with 911. And his eyes were just rolled back. She needed me to help get him on the floor for the paramedics so she could do chest compressions. And paramedics came and got him. The next time I saw him after that, he was in that blue vase I just showed y'all. And she even told me herself that when she heard him gasping, she saw the spray paint can and she saw the pill bottle he was huffing out of and threw it away so there wouldn't be no autopsy or any of that mess. Well, as a long-term result, because of that, I don't even use spray paint for its intended purpose. In fact, I can't even be around it when it's deployed. And I do got to give, when I was living in Austin and working at DQ, I do got to give my director of operations a shout out on this one. Because one day I was at work when it was my shift, and I was in charge of what was going on, and he said, "Sometime today I need you to get somebody to spray paint this rail." And I told him, "Can't do it, man. It's going to have to happen when I'm not around." And I told him the story that I just told y'all, and he said, "I fully understand. I will make sure it happens when you're not around." So shout out to you, Ernest. But I do gotta say, since my depression has had a strong hold on me lately, as well as my anxiety, I know some people have been trying to get a hold of me, and it hasn't been able to happen. But I just want to be the one to tell y'all, it's nothing personal, so don't take it that way. I've even missed important calls behind this. But here's where another shout out has to go to. Annabelle! Oh, Annabelle! I do got to give a shout out to Alex and his mom for giving me Annabelle. I mean, I know both parties have been wanting me to stay in touch with them. It isn't that I don't want to. It ain't that I'm trying to be secretive about it. It's that I have just not wanted to be messed with or anything like that, if that makes any sense. But just know, she's doing just fine. And if anything, she might be helping me do just fine. But I'm going to keep trying to take these meds, try to get my mind working the way it should be. Oh, and by the way, if anyone's wondering, for a long time, I had to help her get on the bed. In fact, I even have my grandmother's Christmas tree right there, Christmas tree deal to help her get on the bed. She don't even have to do that anymore. She's able to get up there on her own. But just know, she's doing just fine. And probably because of her, I'm not doing as fine as I'd like to be, but she's helping me do as good as expected. Anyway, I suppose that's probably all I have for right now. But I'll go ahead and conclude this. But anyway, like I said, I'm going to post. YouTube's probably going to do it for me anyway, but I'll go ahead and do it myself anyway as a backup in case they don't for whatever reason. But if anybody's going through what I've been going through, then trust me, I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy. I don't care how bad or how wrong they've done me. I don't wish this on nobody. But I'll leave a link to the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline in the description. But thank y'all for watching, and God bless. Cut.